There is a word that some people almost never use. It is one of the smallest words in any language. Just 2 letters. No. For some of us, that word feels almost impossible to say out loud. We agree to things we don't want to do. We take on tasks that aren't ours. We cancel our own plans to rescue someone else's. And afterwards, quietly, we feel exhausted, and we don't fully understand why. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something before we begin. The inability to say no is not a flaw in your character. It is not weakness. It is a pattern your nervous system learned, a long time ago, in order to keep you safe. And today, we are going to understand it together. The first thing to understand is that people who can't say no are usually not just being polite. Politeness is a choice. This is something deeper. This is a reflex. When a request comes in, most people feel a small moment of evaluation. Do I want to do this? Do I have the time? The person who can't say no often skips that moment entirely. The yes is already out of their mouth before they have even checked in with themselves. Why does this happen? Because somewhere along the way, this person learned that their safety, their belonging, their value, depended on being useful to others. Saying yes wasn't a preference. It was a survival strategy. And survival strategies don't ask for permission. They simply run. To understand the reflex, we have to look back. Very often, the person who cannot say no grew up in an environment where their own needs were not safe to express. Maybe they had a parent whose mood filled the whole house, and they learned to read that mood and adjust themselves to it. Maybe love felt conditional, given when they were helpful and withdrawn when they were not. Maybe they were the responsible child, the one who held things together while the adults struggled. In each of these cases, the child learns the same lesson. My job is to manage other people's feelings, not my own. To keep the peace, I make myself small. I anticipate what others need, and I give it before they even ask. This is sometimes called fawning. Most of us know about fight, flight, and freeze. But there is a fourth response to threat, and it is fawn. When danger appears, you don't run and you don't fight. You please, you appease, you become exactly what the other person seems to want, because that is what once kept you safe. Now here is the part that the rest of the internet rarely talks about. Because this is not only happening in the mind, it is happening in the body. Every time you override your own no and force out a yes, your body notices. There is a quiet internal conflict. One part of you wants to refuse, and another part overrides it for safety. That conflict is a low-grade stressor, and your body responds the way it responds to any stressor, with a small release of cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Do this once, and it's nothing. Do it 10 times a day, for years, and something changes. Your nervous system rarely gets to return to its calm, rest and digest state. It stays subtly switched on, subtly braced, and the body pays the bill. Chronically elevated stress signaling is linked to disrupted sleep, to tension held in the jaw, the neck, and the shoulders, and to a tired, wired feeling that never quite goes away. Many chronic people pleasers also report digestive issues, because the gut and the nervous system are in constant conversation through what we call the gut-brain axis. When you are always bracing, your digestion is one of the first systems to suffer. So when a person who can't say no tells you, I feel exhausted all the time, and I don't know why, this is often the why. Their body has been quietly running an emergency program for years. There is another cost, and it is one that people pleasers feel ashamed of: resentment. When you constantly give what you don't truly want to give, a quiet bitterness builds underneath the kindness. You start to feel unseen, taken for granted, used. But you can't express it, because expressing it would mean saying no, and saying no is the very thing you cannot do. So the resentment turns inward. It becomes self-criticism. Why'd I always do this? Why can't I just stand up for myself? And that inner voice adds even more stress to a system that is already overloaded. This is the painful loop. You say yes to feel safe and accepted, but each yes quietly erodes your sense of self, until you are surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. Have you ever noticed that in the exact moment someone asks you for something, your mind goes blank? You want to say no, but your thoughts freeze, and yes comes out almost on its own. That blankness is not a lack of willpower. It is a real physiological state. In that moment, the part of your brain that handles fear is moving faster than the part that handles reasoning. Your body has detected a tiny social threat, the risk of disappointing someone, and it has chosen the fastest path back to safety. That path is yes. Understanding this matters, because it means the goal is not to Try harder, in the moment. By the time you're in the moment, your biology has often already decided. The real work happens before, and it happens in the body. So how does someone begin to change this? Gently, and with the body, not just the mind. The first step is the pause. When a request arrives, you practice one simple sentence: "Let me get back to you." That sentence does something powerful. It interrupts the automatic yes and gives your reasoning brain time to come back online. You are not refusing, you are simply creating space. The second step is learning to feel safety in your own body again. Because the fear of saying no lives in the nervous system, the most effective tools are physical ones. A slow exhale that is longer than your inhale signals safety to your vagus nerve and gently shifts you out of stress mode. Feeling your feet on the floor. Unclenching your jaw and your shoulders. These small acts tell your body, I am not actually in danger. I am allowed to take up space. And the third step is the smallest, kindest no you can find. Not a dramatic confrontation, just one tiny boundary with someone safe. Each time you say no and the world does not end, your nervous system records new evidence. Slowly, the old survival rule rewrites itself. I can disappoint someone and still be safe. I can be loved and still have limits. If you are someone who struggles to say no, please be patient with yourself. This pattern protected you once. It helped a younger version of you survive a situation they could not control. There is nothing broken in you. But you are not in that situation anymore. And your no is not an act of rejection. It is an act of honesty, towards others, and towards your own body, which has been carrying the weight of every unspoken no for a very long time. You are allowed to put some of that weight down. You can start today, with one small, quiet no.